Happy New Year's. I'm Gerald Bentley. This is a special year in review, year preview show for Wrestling with Sales here on the Fired Up Network and on Wrestling Spotlight. We're joined, you can see him in the back right behind me in full regalia as the Barker, Cody James from the National Wrestling Alliance, part of Magic Inc.'s joining us. And Cody, huge year in 2023 for pro wrestling, and you got to feel good going into 2024. What's what's on the near horizon for you as we enter into the new year?
Um, 2024, I'm really looking to be in the best physical shape to start the year. I've been really putting in the work in the gym to be ready for what's looking to be the biggest year yet. You hit it right on the head. 2023 was quite a year, and I know everybody in the wrestling industry is going to look to make 2024 even bigger. The wrestling industry is booming right now. No matter where you look, there's great things happening all over the place, which is absolutely phenomenal. Um, on the direct horizon for me, we have Chicago Style Wrestling in January, which I believe you're starting to get involved with yourself and doing
Yeah,
some work
yeah.
with.
Because this is also this episode is also the first show for the new Wrestling Spotlight. It's on local now. It's accessible on every TV in the country, in the
Wow.
US and Canada. Local Now app, pull it up. We're right there, 24/7 pro wrestling. And as we roll into the new season, what you're going to see is some of the best independent wrestling in the country getting the spotlight put on them, including, like you said,
There you are,
Chicago
right
style
there.
wrestling. We're going to have Chicago style wrestling involved, and you can see Sky Blue from the AEW roster is going to be there. Yourself and some other NWA roster members, and Chicago is a great pro wrestling city. I know there's multiple independent promotions running out of there, probably what, 5 or 6 different ones.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to wrestle in Chicago, you could wrestle every single weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if you wanted to. It's harder to not wrestle a show on a weekend in Chicago right now because it's so hot with the independents. I'm very blessed, and I know everybody else in the area feels that way too because we have so many opportunities and so much exposure at our fingertips, and it's really up to us how we use it and how we could get it across. You asked what was on the horizon. We also have
Yeah.
NWA Paranoia January
Hmm.
13th, and then we have NWA Power Tapings on the 14th, which is super big. So January is looking like a real hot month, for everybody.
Yeah, and here I wanted to ask as we get going, because not just focusing on independence, we'll talk about all of the major national promotions, and you have a unique position, and so do actually a lot of wrestlers in the wrestling universe outside of the WWE, because that's kind of a closed system. But
Mm-hmm.
AEW, Impact, which is now TNA again, they get to work the independents as well, as does MLW that we featured on here a lot. And when you take a look at the big touring companies, national companies, I mean, not that long ago, less than a decade ago, it was just really the WWE and then to a small degree, Ring of Honor. But
Mm-hmm.
now you have active national tours from the WWE, from TNA, now Impact, now TNA, New Japan Wrestling getting more and more involved in the American market, AAA, Lucha Libre, GCW, the NWA, MLW, AEW, and Ring of Honor. It's just a different universe. How much does that help, and how much does that presence of the bigger stages drive people to get involved in independent wrestling? And I think it's not coincidental that with Billy Corgan relaunching the National Wrestling Alliance and Tony Khan starting All Elite Wrestling and really rescuing Ring of Honor, that the independent territories are thriving now. I do a lot of work with Las Vegas, and just like Chicago, there's 5 or 6 legitimate, regularly scheduled weekly programs in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, it it helps so much just because it makes it acknowledgeable for, the not just the diehard wrestling fan, but maybe, the casual fan who just turns on the TV every once so often, to where they see, these people on a national platform on their TVs, and then they're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, and then all of a sudden they see an ad that says this Friday, in a, you know, American Legion Hall, or a school gym or a bar near you, come see. And it's like, what? I just saw this person on TV on
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday night, because you can watch wrestling any day of the week now. It's so big, and now it's going to bring that casual fan out, and they're going to see how special the independents really are, because it's such a close, intimate setting, opposed to these bigger events that are being held, to where you can really interact with everybody to a different degree than you can at, such as a TV taping or at a pay-per-view event. And I think that's where you really hook, that casual fan into more, of a diehard.
Yeah, it makes a huge connection because it is really it's one community, and I think the thing that's jumped out the most to me, getting a chance to get involved in independent wrestling since I started this, and I realized I started this as a sales training podcast, and then got to interview, wrestlers like yourself, like Jake DeMoss, like some of the stars of the Major League Wrestling. You realize that connection to the community, and there's much more to wrestling than just the negativity that you can see on social media.
Yeah.
Because you go to an independent show, like here's a shot from the Central States Wrestling Zone. That's a packed Lenexa National Guard Armory. It's just down the street from a big entertainment complex in Kansas City, the Lenexa City Center. They pack it in there. The season premiere this year is going to be February 17th, but you have, like you said, an extremely up close, personal, positive relationship, and you can go right up and talk to the wrestlers during the intermission at the merch tables and sign autographs. We helped make some autographed championship belts that we then donated to the
Wow.
Salvation Army. Yeah, the Salvation Army Adopt a Family program for Christmas presents.
Okay.
And you create those bonds, and I wasn't even expecting it, but when we were at the Salvation Army Christmas Eve service, a couple of the senior citizens that volunteer at the Salvation Army came up and wanted to talk with me about the NWA World Championship belt I brought, and asked me if that was the same belt that Ric Flair wore. And
That's
somebody asked me
awesome.
about Vern Gagne, and
Mm-hmm.
it was terrific. And
You're
it's
creating moments,
building that community. Yeah.
it's
And the
moments
kids
last forever,
kids
and
loved
people
getting
remember
the
that.
belts. Hmm.
They really do, and that's something that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. And they're gonna get older, and they're gonna tell their kids, this is what they used to do with their family. I love hearing, stories from fans when they talk about how they used to watch wrestling with their grandparents or with their
Sure.
parents, and they'd go to the local shows, and now they're doing it with their kids or their grandchildren, um, because it just keeps it so special. And that's how I came up through wrestling, and that's how I learned what wrestling was. I used to watch it with my grandfather. I'd go to shows with my parents, and now I'm doing that same thing with my children. And so to hear it from other people and from fans, and it's so cool because we remember those moments. I couldn't tell you match for match what happened, but I can tell you where I was and when we were there, because that's a special moment in my memory. And I think that's happening a lot out there in the world, not just the country. I think it's all over the place.
Yeah, and hear it from so many people. Zeta Zhang told me that she learned English by watching pro wrestling
Oh wow.
with her, yeah, with her grandmother, and so it's probably a fairly limited vocabulary though initially if you learned English from pro wrestling in that era, because it would be weird for a little kid in school to go to the teacher and say, "Hey, let me tell you, brother."
No, exactly. I
But
was thinking about, if I were to go wrestle in Mexico or overseas somewhere, I would have to learn a different language. Otherwise, communicating would be very, very hard for me.
sure,
So that would be an interest of mine as well. So there's so many different positives through wrestling that people don't realize, and it's you can just expand yourself so much as an individual, and your learning and your personal growth, and it's all from this one little thing that we all love. So I think it's so special.
As a dealer, you spend a lot of time buying cars at auction. If you're using Edge Pipeline to manage your purchases, then this is big news. Montway Auto Transport has partnered with Auction Edge to add a transportation option onto Edge Pipeline. Now dealers can manage their auction buys and book transportation with just one click right in the Edge Pipeline platform. As a nationwide leader in auto transport, Montway understands a dealer's need for speed and efficiency and can arrange single or multi-vehicle moves from auction to any lot in the country. With Montway's technology, dealers can gain full transit visibility and tracking after an order has been booked, making it much easier to manage inventory. Buy, ship, and track all in Edge Pipeline. Go to
Different
www.montway.com/WS
positives
to learn more.
through wrestling that people don't realize, and it's, you can just expand yourself so much as an individual, and you're learning and your personal growth, and it's all from this one little thing that we all love. So I think it's so special.
And is that kind of what drives you to go and to get involved? Because it's a lot of work. I mean, it's 20 hours, probably a week of working out, then going and traveling to the indie shows.
Hmm.
Because at the time you were doing that, I don't think you foresaw what's behind me. I don't know if you thought there was a national televised career coming out of it.
That's always, for me, that was the goal.
Yeah,
I always set myself to the highest goals in the highest regard, because then I feel I'm going to push myself further and I'm going to push myself harder. I
sure.
think there's a lot of people in the wrestling world that think that way as well, and then you have some that they're happy where they're at, and that's awesome, and they want to continue to push themselves and be the very best version of themselves on that platform. Um, but yeah, it is a lot of work, like you said. Being in the gym, and then you got training on top of it, and then you have the road trips on the weekend. You make a lot of sacrifices doing that, going show for show to show. um Me being a father of two myself, and I have an actual career outside of wrestling, and being a married man, I give up a lot of time when I'm gone. But it's, when you come home, you make the memories, you make the moments with your family, and turn into super dad is what I call it, to make
Yeah,
up for the
well,
missed.
and there's got to be a feeling of completeness too, because there is something to be said. I mean, you're a competitor. You want to be out there. You want to make sure you're doing everything you can. And if you believe you have a chance to make it, to excel, and to not take that chance, that really creates a lot of the negativity and the hopelessness that you see in some areas, because everybody knows somebody who comes up and said, "Oh yeah, no, I was great in high school, but yeah,
Right.
just missed." I mean, it's something to be said for taking a swing and going for it.
Yeah, what really drives me is my kids, and I think we talked about this last time.
Hmm.
Me showing them that with hard work and determination, just putting your head down and doing the grind, you can get to wherever you want to be in life, no matter what it be, whether it be wrestling, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, any sort of sport, or any sort of academic, goal that you have your eyes set on. If you strive and you push for it, you can obtain that just by being dedicated, and I almost want to say manifesting it. And it's,
Hmm.
I like to think that I'm a good example of that to my children. I had a goal of, by 35, making it to a major wrestling promotion, and in April of last year, I hit that goal, and in August I turned 35.
Awesome.
And that doesn't mean it's done. It's now, how far can we push this? How many people can we motivate? How many people can we inspire to do that outside of just my children? I want to be that type of force in this industry, because I think the world needs more people like that, more people that can show the positivity and the work ethic, you can get whatever you want out of it. And so that's what my driving force is right now with everything.
Well, and I really like what you, Magic Jake Dumas, and CJ do, Christy James, who's a terrific wrestler herself, do with Magic Inc., because you guys are helping drive that character-driven story back in,
Hmm.
which the NWA has really done a great job with.
Yeah, it's so fun because we kind of get to channel a different version of ourselves that normal everyday people might not know about us, or might not see that we're capable of doing. You have Jake, the magician. He's more serious. You have me, the carnival barker, who's a little off his hinges sometimes. He's always out there, trying to sell something.
Hmm.
Is he a sleazy con man, or does he really want you to see what's going on? And then you have the lovely assistant, CJ. She's Portuguese, so she can't speak any English. She only speaks Portuguese. And somehow she's always able to help in the right spot. But she also has messed some things up for us. So we have so many different elements to this story, that we can go any which direction. That's what's going to get people hooked, and that's what's going to keep people tuning in. And that's what kept me tuning in when I was younger, the characters.
Hmm.
And I think it's so special that, like you said, the characters are being brought back, little by little. And the NWA is doing such a good job at this. So it's very special to me, and it's very fun. It brought wrestling fun again. It made it fun again. Instead of just going out there and being a big tough bad guy trying to beat people up, now there's another element to it. So it's really fun.
Well, it definitely resonates with me because I'm pretty sure I'm about the same age as Billy Corgan. So we grew up watching the same NWA and World Class Championship Wrestling and bringing back some of those elements because everything old is new again. And
Mm-hmm.
as we wrapped up the one holiday season, you can put it on your shopping list now. We got to get these things made. There you
Don't do
go.
that, man. The reaction. So that was just made with an AI website. It was a big thing going around the wrestling world. Everybody was
Yeah.
sharing it. And I'm like, I want to play with this, and I had some fun out of it. And that came out. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I looked into seeing how to get one made, and somebody quoted me like $150 to have one made, and I'm like, maybe for a one-off, for my mantle at home. But
Yeah.
I don't know. People are saying to contact some distributors overseas and see if we can get them mass produced. I thought it was super cool, but there's so many cooler ones out there that I saw people make and stuff, and it was a fun little trend, but it got a lot more attention than I really thought it would.
Well, we got to get in touch with Danny Deals and see if we can work out something for the Wrestling with Sales shop.
Right? Get
We
the deals
can
machine on the
we
phone.
can get them on there. Yeah, we got to get working on it. Hey, let's just ask about some of the as we're kind of winding down, some of the big trends in pro wrestling from last year and what we're going to see coming up this year. I mean, a person who was everywhere. He was in All Elite Wrestling. He was in Impact Wrestling. He was in Ring of Honor. He was in Major League Wrestling and the National Wrestling Alliance, along with GCW. How much of an impact has Matt Cardona had since getting, I think most people would agree, wrongfully let go from the WWE, where he was Zack Ryder? He's really gone about, reinvented himself, and has become an international superstar in a very unexpected way.
Um, I think it's a huge motivational factor because he is, like you said, he reinvented himself, but he's showing that you don't need to go to just one place to be successful. You can work in multiple companies, and if you do it the right way, those companies will allow you to work in multiple different companies. But he's added so much value to his name and wrestling in general. you know we talked about it earlier. A few years back, there was only one, maybe two places to go wrestle.
Yeah.
Now you can wrestle anywhere. If you can make a name for yourself and you advertise and you market yourself properly, you can go anywhere you want to go. So I think it's a huge thing that he did for not just himself, but the wrestling industry in general. But then he gives back. I see him do all these podcasts and interviews with people to talk about what he does himself and how it works for himself, to give kind of, give his tips and tricks out to people. And if people apply it, they might have to put their own spin on it, but they're going to work for them too, you know? So I think it's really cool what he's doing for the world of wrestling.
Yeah, it's been super impactful. And really you could argue outside of maybe Cody Rhodes, the biggest
Mhm.
impact of one of the people released from the WWE in these
Yeah.
COVID eras may well be Matt Cardona.
Yeah. I mean, he's huge. I mean, you know, I think personally, I think he's going to end up, you know, going back one day.
Oh,
And
his wife's there.
yeah, right. And it's just good for him, like that. We all want to be at the E one day, in some sort of aspect. Like that's the top of the mountain for a lot of us.
Sure.
But for him, he's going back and he's going to do it his way, and that's what we all want to do. We all want to do it our way. But like you said with Cody Rhodes, he did the same thing. He went out, he reinvented himself, and he started spinning the wheel. And what's the saying? Like the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So I think there's just so many opportunities, and those two guys are, really doing it. Somebody I want to watch really closely. They just announced their 2024 World Tour is Mustafa Ali. By him
Sure.
hitting the ground running as soon as his non-compete clause was up. Now he's really, he's booking. He looks phenomenal. He's got a lot of steam, a lot of momentum behind him. So I'm really curious to see where he's going to go with everything and how he's going to do it. He could very well, be the next Cody Rhodes, the next Matt Cardona, by reinventing himself, and he speaks up for a lot of things that he believes in. And I think that's very admirable. I think everybody should be allowed to talk about what their beliefs are and back what they want to back. It's one of the great things about, the country that we live in. So he's going to use his platform how he sees fit. And I'm really excited to see where it goes and how high he's going to take it.
Well, and he's got a great backstory too. I mean, for people
Mm-hmm.
that aren't aware of it, if you only saw him as the leader of Retribution, which unfortunately didn't really do him any favors, he is a former Chicago police
Yes,
officer,
he
a
is.
tremendous wrestler, and I'm sure that's a good name. I'm sure you're going to see him a lot in 2024.
I don't know what I did
Oh,
if I'm disappearing. I'm trying to find you back. Oh,
there you
there we
go.
go.
You're back there. Hey, another guy
Matt Riddle.
just recently sent out by the WWE, the bro, Matt Riddle. He's back in Major League Wrestling, going up against Jacob Fatu, who is a extended member of the Bloodline. That's coming up in their big event to kick off the new year, Kings of the Coliseum. That's at the 2300 Arena, the former ECW Arena. So
Yeah.
there's all sorts of places where people are going to start popping up. And now Mustafa Ali, that's a great name. I'm sure we'll see big things from him coming up this year.
Yes.
Another person who decided he could go home again, who's going to make a lot of news this year, maybe winning the Royal Rumble that's being talked about and possibly being one of the main events of WrestleMania, going up against Seth Rollins, CM Punk back in the WWE. How do you feel about CM Punk, Chicago Chicago native, man who is a proud Chicagoan?
I think it's great. Media follows him, and fans follow him, and Madison Square Garden. They announced that as the highest grossing non-televised event ever.
Yeah,
Was his first match back. Like he's a draw clearly. And then with all the cylinders that wrestling is firing on right now, it's it's going to be hard to miss for anybody. And it's good for everybody involved in every outlet of wrestling, no matter who you're talking about. If you're talking about WWE, you're talking about AEW, you're talking about TNA, you're talking about NWA, Ring of Honor, all of this is just positive. It's positivity and it's putting the spotlight on wrestling. No pun intended.
yeah, no, it's good.
But it's spreading what we're doing out there. He's an advocate for all of wrestling, and whether you hate him, whether you like him, you know, he's bringing eyes to the product. And the more eyes we have on the product, the more people we have watching, the more shows they're going to attend, whether it's be a different company or if it be the indies. There's going to be more people paying attention. So I love it. I'm personally, I'm all for it. I don't care about the dirt sheets and stuff like that. I stay away from it. I don't read it. I don't
Yep.
I don't listen to it. I don't have time for it. But I'm all for people paying attention to wrestling and what's on wrestling. Who cares what people are saying about behind the scenes? It's not important.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what's in front of us.
I think the rising tide lifts all boats, and
Mm-hmm.
because if the WWE is doing well, part of the reason why the WWE is doing well, which it is, especially since Hunter's been put in charge and getting the merger with Endeavor with the UFC, they've been on a roll.
Yes.
that lifts attention, and they have to work harder because it's not just them. It's the AEW, it's the NWA, it's Ring of Honor, it's TNA, it's New Japan.
Mhm.
So you have to stay dialed in. It can't just stay stagnant.
Exactly. And I think all the workers understand that too. And you watch the shows and everybody's, going above and beyond every single show. You watch a weekly television episode of, it's almost like, is this a pay-per-view?
Yeah.
Because the qualities that we're getting out of everything is just so amazing. And I think the NWA is really starting to set their own tone and stand apart in their own way, especially with the CW and everything that's going on there. We have the premium
Hmm.
line, we have the CW signature event that's coming up, Paranoia. That's going to be a huge event. We have EC3 versus Matt Cardona in the main event. In the ultimate match of death. Like, what even is that? And but it's drawing eyes, and it's going to bring it in its own uniqueness. And other people, there you go, you got Jake DeMott versus Alex Misery. um Me being a little biased, I have my opinion on who's going to win that match. But Alex Misery, he's a phenomenal athlete. He's from down there in Florida. Super athlete, high flyer, little crazy. Don't really know where he hangs out, but might be a dark alley somewhere
Yeah.
from the looks of it. Um, but there's always new concepts, there's always new ideas coming, and they're always flowing. And it's like, oh, what can we do now? Everybody says that we're in a league of our own. No, we're all really working together. In my opinion, we're all working together without really knowing that we're working together, because we want to stand out. And like I said earlier, we're booming. Wrestling's booming. It's a great time to be in it. It's a great time to watch it. Whether you're a fan, whether you're a worker, whether you're a promoter, whether you're on crew, it's just so good. And there's so many jobs for so many people. I don't know what there's to complain about.
Well, and I think the name of this channel, the Wrestling Spotlight, is going to be super relevant too,
Mhm.
because every time you're on an indie show, the spotlight may well be on you and you don't know who's watching because
Exactly.
it's starting to get like all the other professional sports. And yeah, like take the NFL. You're playing in the exhibition game and it's the fourth quarter. And who's watching? Well, who knows? Your next your next opportunity could be watching because they may
Exactly.
see it and say, "Hey, I need somebody like that. You're the next breakout." And just as we're winding down here, we just have a couple minutes left.
Yeah.
Just see if you have a prediction for a breakout star this year. Mine, I'm taking the easy route. I'm going with Swerve because
Sure.
I think he's due for a big year. He really, really benefited from the Continental Classic because those are 20-minute time limit matches, no interference, and you got to see him really work
Mhm.
and do it without the benefit of Brian Cage, the Mogul Embassy, and Prince Nana.
Absolutely. I'm gonna stick bias. I'm gonna stay with the NWA breakout.
Okay,
Blake Troop,
Bulletproof
Bulletproof
Blake
Troop.
Troop.
He is putting in the work right now. He is grinding. I'm loving everything that I see out there from him. That guy's gonna be a world champion. And Kylie Page. We'll go to the women's division as well.
Hmm.
Kylie Page, Kenzie's younger sister.
Yeah.
Um, I hope we get a page versus page for the women's world championship in NWA. Um, but Blake and Kylie, I think they're going to be the standouts this year, and they're going to break out, and they're really going to set themselves apart from the rest of the group. And I'm all for it. I'm so honored to be able to watch it and be a part of it. So those are my two predictions for 2024.
Well, and here, I'll stick with the NWA and I'll add two more to the list.
Oh,
Mims
yes.
and Max the Impaler, because Max the Impaler, I've had gotten a chance to see them wrestle in a couple of different cards, and that's a very impressive, a
They are.
very impressive performer. And of course, they have a little help on the outside with the Sinister Minister there. And Mims, a little controversy with our own Mile High Magnum, Dak Draper from Central States Wrestling,
Mhm.
rolling out of the ring to let the time limit expire instead of actually going in and fighting.
Yeah,
So the championship may be coming in between the tag team a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, gold and fame and money, it's easy for that to get in the way of friendship. Max, though, they're doing such amazing things, wrestling over in Japan
Yep.
regularly, being the women's television champion, now going for the men's television champion. Um, winner takes all at Paranoia. They terrify me.
Well,
I,
you
I,
guys
I
had a
don't want to
chance.
wrestle them. Thankfully I was on the same team as them at Samhain.
Yeah, it's
and I,
Samhain.
and I didn't have to go one-on-one because, they're frightening and absolute, you know, warlord of the wasteland. What
Hmm.
better way to explain it than that? Not going to let anybody get in their way. So yes, those are both very good picks. And Mims, I'm excited to see where Mims go. So, can Mims maybe go against Thrillbilly for the national title this year?
Sure.
Just keep climbing the ranks, or can uh, Mile High Magnum, can they get on the same page and go for the NWA Tag Team Champs? I mean, they're going to have to get past Magic
Have to
Inc.
get through
if
that.
they
Yeah.
if they want to get an opportunity like that. But there's so much talent, no matter where you look, whether it's NWA, AEW, TNA, WWE. Everybody's got their own breakout star of the year, and just the fact that we can talk and narrow it down on so many people, it's like, hey, here's my two. Okay, I'm gonna up your two, and I'm gonna give you these two.
Yep.
It's like, oh yeah, like that's gonna be absolutely
You keep
amazing.
going.
We can go all day. We're gonna need more than 30 minutes to talk about it.
Well, the good thing is we have a 24/7 channel, and we're going to be building and pushing as many independent wrestling territories around the country as we can, and then doing some talk segments highlighting some of the national groups, including the NWA, MLW, and breaking down some AEW and WWE shows. But just as we call it a show here, I did want to give one last look at 2023, some of the stars that lost in 2023, just a little in memoriam. The Iron Sheik, the Genius Lanny Poffo, Terry Funk, Bray Wyatt, Superstar Billy Graham, and Jay Briscoe. Uh, kind of hard year. It was great to see the news that the WWE went ahead and signed Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, to a Legends contract, so that way his family will be taken care of. And of course, way too young for Bray Wyatt, a 38-year-old former world champion and one of the unique personalities of professional wrestling. So a little bit of a long year in 23. Lost a lot of really talented superstars, and just wanted to give a little memorial there as we wrap up the year 2023. Look forward to 2024,
Yes.
and we'll be looking forward to NWA Paranoia coming up on January 13th with Magic Jake Dumas is in a match. I'm sure Cody James, the Parker, will be there and have a role in it as well. Cody, thanks a lot for taking some time here on the holiday, and Happy New Year to you. And we look forward to seeing a lot of Chicago style wrestling here on the channel
Yes,
as the
Gerald.
year rolls on.
Yes, Gerald. Thank you so much for having me, but also thank you so much for doing everything that you do and giving us the spotlight. And I'm really excited to be working, with you throughout the year, and hopefully we have
Yeah.
more of these. And I'm excited to see all the footage and everything that you do with Chicago style wrestling, as well as all the other independent shows that you're going to be putting your spotlight on and sharing, on your platforms to help
Hmm.
spread the love of professional wrestling. And thank you for all the attention that you give us at the NWA. I know I speak for every single person, the workers, the office, there's no such thing as too much attention, especially positive attention that you give
Yeah,
us. So thank you on behalf of everybody. And here's to 2024. I'm excited to get after it.
absolutely. I was going to give you a little champagne cheer,
Oh,
but we don't
yeah,
have a
there we
cup.
go.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
Happy New Year, Cody. Thanks a lot for joining us, and we'll get back together as the year rolls on here.
I look forward to it.